Hey everyone, and welcome. So we all know how incredible AI is, right? It can generate code, summarize articles, and answer questions in a blink of an eye. But what happens when that super helpful response is actually hiding a weapon? Today, we're diving into a really critical vulnerability that can turn an AI's greatest strength, its output, into a massive security nightmare.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the magic. There's a reason we're all scrambling to build large language models into pretty much everything. For developers, for users, it feels less like just another tool and more like we've all been given a brand new superpower.
For starters, they can seriously speed up development. You can literally just describe a function you need in plain English, and boom, seconds later, you've got working code. It's kind of like having a brilliant junior developer on call 24/7. And then you've got these incredibly smart chatbots. We're not talking about those old, clunky bots that can only answer from a script. No, these new ones can actually understand the context of a conversation and even take action for you in other systems. And of course, their ability to summarize is just amazing. They can chew through a mountain of text, a super dense report or a long-winded article, and just spit out the key takeaways. It is a huge time saver.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, this amazing power to generate content that talks to our other systems, well, it has a dark side. There's a critical vulnerability hiding in plain sight that we absolutely have to talk about.
And that brings us to the one question that every single developer building with AI needs to be asking themselves. What happens when the model's output isn't helpful? What if it's secretly a weapon, aimed squarely at your application and your users?
So, the official term for this risk is improper output handling. The key here isn't that the model gets a fact wrong. No, this is all about our failure to properly check, clean up, and handle what the model gives us before we let that output touch any other part of our system.
And it's so important to get this straight. This is not the same thing as just over-relying on an AI. Over-reliance is when you trust the AI's facts too much, when it hallucinates an answer. Improper output handling is a pure security mistake. It's when you trust that the AI's output isn't malicious code. Big difference.
And the consequences if you get this wrong, hoo boy, they are severe. We're talking about the greatest hits of web security threats. Things like cross-site scripting or XSS that lets attackers steal your users' data, all the way up to remote code execution, which could mean a complete hostile takeover of your server. So how does this kind of abstract threat become a real-world everything's-on-fire attack? Let's walk through the anatomy of a few of these attack paths. Okay, here's a classic and devastating one. An attacker writes a clever prompt that tricks the LLM into including some malicious JavaScript in its response. Now, if your app takes that output and just slaps it onto a web page for another user to see without cleaning it first, you've just handed the attacker a perfect cross-site scripting vulnerability on a silver platter.
Or imagine an app that uses an LLM to help people build database queries. A malicious user could ask it to, say, create a query to delete all the tables. The LLM, just trying to be helpful, might generate the exact SQL to do just that. If your app blindly runs that query, well, poof, your entire database is gone.
Now this one is sneaky. An attacker can poison a website with a hidden instruction. So when your LLM-powered summarizer tool goes to read that website, this hidden prompt tells it to secretly grab sensitive data from the user's conversation and weave it into the summary it generates. If that output isn't filtered, you've just turned your helpful tool into a spy that mails private data directly to the attacker.
Okay, I know. That all sounds pretty terrifying. But here's the good news. We are not defenseless here. There's a clear, actionable playbook we can use, and it's built on decades of hard-won wisdom from the world of application security. So the big takeaway is that there's no single silver bullet. You need a defense-in-depth strategy. Let's break this down real quick. First, you need a zero-trust approach. We'll come back to that one. Second, you encode all output to neutralize bad code. Third, you use safe database queries to stop stuff like that SQL injection we just saw. Fourth, you need a strong content security policy, or CSP, to lock down what can even run in a user's browser. And finally, you have to log and monitor what the AI is outputting so you can spot attacks when they happen.
Now, when we talk about validating and encoding, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Established security standards, like the OWASP Application Security Verification Standard, give us a detailed guide. The whole key is context. If the output is going into a web page, you encode it for HTML. If it's going into a database, you escape it for SQL. Simple as that.
All right,
If you only remember one single thing from this entire explainer, please make it this. It's a really simple shift in your mindset, but it is your single most powerful defense.
This is it. This is the whole game. Treat the output from the AI model with the exact same level of suspicion that you would treat input from a random anonymous user on the internet. You need to apply every single security check, every validation, all the sanitization to the model's responses that you already use for user input fields. You can't give the AI a trusted hall pass.
And really, this all leads us to a pretty fundamental question. As we all race to build these powerful new tools, is the biggest threat the AI itself, or is it our own blind trust in what it tells us? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.